John Crotty played in the NBA for a decade, and he's the TV analyst for the Heat on Bally Sports Sun. By the way, for the finals, just like rounds 2 and 3, you can watch Crotty and Eric Reed on Bally Sports Sun for a local post-game show upon completion of each game. Sunday night's game, by the way, begins at 8 p.m., a little half hour earlier since it's Sunday night, and Crotty is joining us now. Hello, Crotty.
Hey, what's up? How you guys doing?
So, well, you tell us. I mentioned to Crowder and Solana, like I watched you and Eric after the game last night. You were fairly upbeat for a game that, we had all just watched and were bummed about, but you've had now, a full night and a little bit of a day to marinate. So what are your main takeaways from game 1, the loss last night?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's pretty rare. Again, we would have been the first NBA team, I think, in the history of the league ever to have won, the first game of every series we were in on the road. So that's pretty unique. So to think we would have done that last night and continued that amazing trend, you got to be realistic. They did what they were supposed to do. Denver did, and that's defend their home court. I think, what was, negative was the fact that you see how talented this team is, particularly Jokic, and how he can control the game as a passer and get everybody else involved and make them better. That's what scares me. I mean, he's a really good player. And, to me, if there's a way you can try to guard him straight up, not help, not double team as much, almost make him more of a scorer as good as he is, and try to prevent him from raising the level of the guys like Aaron Gordon, who he got going early in the paint, or Jamal Murray in the two-man game, coming off comfortably getting shots based upon his screens and dribble handoffs, and Michael Porter Jr. on his driving kicks and getting some open threes for him, and Brown coming off the bench. So, that to me is going to be the big decision and adjustments that Coach Spo is going to have to make. And it's a lot easier for me to talk about it than it is to actually go out and do it. So this is a very talented team, but Miami has shown all throughout the course of this playoffs they can take a punch, and they're resilient, and they can come back, and they can beat anybody.
And Crotty, to that point of the adjustments, because we were talking about it earlier, where once you saw that Jokic wasn't going to try to go out and score 30 in the first half, he was going to facilitate. Can you adjust mid-game to that? Is that something you really have to sit down with the guys and express? You played a whole season through. Like, is that something you need time to adjust to? Because it was totally obvious that they knew what we were trying to do to Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, you can. It's very hard. It requires incredible discipline and focus. And so much of it is the guys that are guarding what I would call the others outside of Jokic have to be absolutely diligent about staying, close enough to their guy. You play basic help defense, right? You can't hug up on your guy and just be isolated. You got to help and prevent easy drives and blow-bys, but you got to get back to your guy and guard them, stay between them and the basket. We saw a bunch of cuts where Murray got some backdoor cuts. We saw Aaron Gordon getting opportunities to post inside. There's got to be a mix of pressure on the basketball, trying to make it tough for Jokic to pass over or around the defender, and that's typically Bam. And then there's got to be great focus and discipline by the guys guarding the others to take away those easier cuts. They're going to make shots, and they're going to get shots, but you're just trying to make things as hard as you can. This is, the number one field goal percentage scoring team in the whole league this year, over 50%. They're the number 2 passing team in the league out of 30 teams this year in regards to assists a game. They hit both of those numbers like on the almost on the dot last night. So they played their game. They got to their comfort level, and Miami's just got to find a better way to disrupt them. And then on the offensive end, I think there could be vast improvement. I mean, Miami missed some shots that they typically would make, and it really impacted their ability then to be able to get back and defend as well.
How do you explain that, those missed shots? How do you explain Max Strus going 0 for 10 on good looks? How do you explain a few nights prior, Caleb Martin looking like an Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and then last night looking like not an Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Duncan was off. Like, how do you explain that?
You know what, Crowder? I don't know how you deal with this man sometimes, you know? I mean, how do I explain that? I mean, let's see. Caleb Martin shooting like 43% from beyond the arc, had a bad shooting night. Strus, you know, to me, got a little bit too caught up in the three-point shot. He's a 36% shooter during the course of the playoff run, so very respectable. Those are guys you want taking those shots. I mean, 0 for 9 beyond the arc for Strus to me. I thought he took some tougher ones. Jimmy Butler was really on point, I thought, after the game, saying, I think we fell in love a little too much with the jump shot. And, you know, you see that in the disparity in free throws with Miami only getting 2. But I'm going to say this. I don't think it was a poorly officiated game. I'm not putting any blame on the officials. I think it's on Miami to be more aggressive, attacking that paint and drawing contact and forcing the defense to collapse to create even better open opportunities. So I can't explain why they miss it per se, but I think they will make more shots, and I think they'll get better quality shots. How's that, Hoch?
Well, how do you explain only 2 free throws, Crotty? You just did. I'm just teasing you. I just wanted to follow up with a how do you explain question, because you obviously didn't like the how do you explain question. But I think the reason that you got a little cantankerous there was because you couldn't explain it. I asked you a question that you couldn't answer. I think you took that as a personal affront because you had no answer.
Oh man, Crowder!
I mean, we bring you on as an expert, and then all of a sudden you couldn't explain something. You lashed out at me.
You got to drink heavily. You got to drink heavily after these daily programs.
Crotty, 7 years, bro. My kidneys and liver is shot. But Crotty, with I'm not gonna ask. I won't say explain. There's a different way of asking. But Jimmy,
I'm begging you to ask him to explain something. I'm begging.
Crotty, this game is painted as, you know, Jokic versus Jimmy. They have odds out who's the MVP. And Jimmy Butler, Himmy Buckets. He's putting in a trademark offer to name himself Himmy Buckets, and he's so passive. I would expect out of the other guys that haven't been there, that don't have that personality, John. But Jimmy Butler being passive, that seemed like oxymoronic to me.
Yeah, look, I don't know if you can categorize it as being passive. He had 7 assists. He led the team, you know, in that area. He only had 1 turnover, so he's managing the basketball. But look, I agree with you. I think he is so rare as a star, the way he values the ball. He is such an efficient player. Most stars that you play with, they'll take so many shots. They don't care. They don't value possessions the way Jimmy does. I want Jimmy to take 20-plus shots. I want him to get to the free throw line 10-plus times. I think he's got to be in that area for Miami to have the greatest success. And that doesn't mean he's going to shoot the highest percentage, but if he's that aggressive with 20-plus shots, he's going to force the defense to react to him, and he makes the game easier for everybody else, guys. That's what he does consistently, and why we saw the Heat, you know, have such great success in the playoffs so far. We've seen him hit at a high level with that aggressiveness, but also the other guys getting, you know, better opportunities. So look, I agree with you. And I think, you know, if you listen to his post-game comments, I think he stepped, you know, and he leaned right into that. He leaned right into that and said, I got to do better, and I got to be more aggressive getting in the paint. And, you know, I think the 2 free throws, I didn't think the Heat were really passive by any stretch, but I also do feel like they fell in love with the 3-point shot, you know, 39 threes. It's not something we haven't done before, but we weren't as aggressive in the paint as maybe we could have been, at least with the drive and kick game.
When you talk about being aggressive, though, how about Bam last night? Bam was a superstar.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, that was a lot of shots for him. I mean, on the counter side, you know, that was a career field goal attempts night for him in a playoff game. And it's got to feel, I think, for him personally, after leaving, I think the matchup was tough for him in that last round against Boston, against Robert Williams in particular. Just couldn't get the speed advantage, and the length and height was tougher for him, where he was having to shoot over top a lot. He's got the speed advantage on Jokic, and he's able to attack off the dribble, beat him down the floor a few times. He got the mid-range shot going, which is really big for his confidence. And he just kept flowing and going, right? And then we need him on the glass. It's huge when he gets into that double figure range. 4 offensive rebounds is a big lift for him. So we need the same, type of production from him with Jimmy continuing to be more aggressive and just some better shooting from, the guys who we're accustomed to seeing make higher percentage shots.
And you mentioned Bam having that mid-range jumper going, Crotty, and late in the game when the Heat kind of make that push, cut it to 9 with about 2:44 left in the game, it was a lot of high pick and roll action. Kyle Lowry just stepping up, knocking down threes, taking advantage of the fact that Jokic is playing drop coverage. He's sitting in the paint, and he's not really attacking or blitzing the shooter. Are the Heat simply just going to have to take advantage of that this series and just knock down those jumpers?
So. Yeah, I think so. Similar to Milwaukee, very similar to what Brook Lopez, their 7-footer, would do. That's what's called drop zone as well, right? So instead of showing up on a screen, that center is backing all the way off and basically standing in front of the rim. So you can come right off the screen, but you're running right into him. So you can't get a layup or a runner. You got to either take like a pull-up 12 to 15 footer, or you're going to drive and you're going to kick it out. And I think when that's how they're playing you, in your mind, it allows you to kind of come to the conclusion that I'm not going to get to the basket. I got to either get comfortable with my feet on the pull-up or maybe a longer runner where you have the space to shoot over top, or I got to drive and kick. And, I thought Miami at times got caught in between there. But Bam in particular on the pick and roll, on the dive, after he sets the screen, he rolls to the basket. He was open there more against the Nuggets than we've seen in the previous series.
So what do you see happening on Sunday night, Crotty?
I see a more competitive game. I mean, this game ended, with a score that, to me was not really indicative of how close it was, right? I mean, Miami loses by, I believe it was like 11 points, but it felt like it was much bigger than that throughout the course of the game. I think the next game will be much more competitive. I think you'll see Miami look to push the pace a little bit more to get some easier baskets. We'll see some better shooting. And then I think, from what I think Miami is going to have to be much more disciplined in regards to guarding some of those cutters and really preventing some of those passes that Jokic makes. And again, that's not easy. I mean, they do it against everybody, but that's what it's going to take to beat a team of this caliber.
Could you play a game on Mount Everest, Crotty? Spo said they would play right on Mount Everest.
I love that he said that. That was great. I mean, I finished my career briefly in Denver. I played, which is Mile High. I played in Salt Lake, which is not that high, but high. It does impact you, but it's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be. And particularly if you're out there for an extended period of time, you acclimate. The first 3-4 minutes, you get that burn, right? And then you kind of catch your breath, you get that second wind, and it's all good. So it's not really the advantage. They try to get in your head with it. You see, they have they have it 55,280 right by the free throw line. They use it there. They have a big sign when you come in from the bus area. They have it over the entrance to try to get in your head there too, which has been there for years. So that's, sort of the Denver angle they always try to take.
John Crotty. Again, there'll be a local post-game show Sunday night on Bally Sports Sun. You can watch Crotty and Eric Reed and Jason Jackson, Amy Audibert, and hopefully Heat are able to tie the series 1-1. Crotty, explain to me why this segment is over.
I love it. The beating of the dead horse.
Yeah, well, that's my style. I've been doing that. that pays the bills, Crotty.
Hey, Crotty.
That's my style. I love it.
And pays the
All right,
bills.
boys. Have a great weekend.
Crotty,
We'll talk to you next week, I hope.
I'll sell you some money, bro. Double McAllen neat. It usually does it for me.
Nice.
Who am I? Who like I'm an NBA guy that gets under your skin. Am I Dennis Rodman, Crotty?
Yeah, a little bit. A little Rodman in you. You got a little bit of that in you.
All right.
Yeah.
Dig and dig and dig. All right, there you go. John Crotty. Let's take a break and talk a little Heat and it is what it is. He was a little cantankerous. He came out of the box. He was going to be like, oh, nothing to worry about. And then all of a sudden, he started giving me the business.
Hawk, explain to me why you can't score any points. It's a tough
he's
question.
the NBA analyst. I can't explain it. That's why I'm bringing him on. That's his job. He's an actual analyst. He's like, I go to my accountant. Hey, how much do I owe in taxes? I don't know. How much do you owe in taxes? What the hell am I bringing you out here for?
Make a point.
All right, let's take a break. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more Hochman and Crowder.